Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Georgia Tech 2022 Institute Address. I'm Renee Kapkowski, Vice President of Institute Communications. Before I get into any details, I've been asked to tell you to please silence your phones. I like to say it like that. It sounds like I'm in a movie theater or something. Anyway, so we are grateful to see so many of you in the room, and we have many more online. We will leave time for questions at the end of the remarks, and that includes those of you online. You can just submit them there. We'll get to as many as possible. So we will also record this and post it later so you can share it with all your friends. And in the meantime, I would like you to please join me in welcoming President Ángel Cabrera.
Thank you, Renee. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you also very much for spending a little bit of time with me today and reflect together on what has been a truly extraordinary year. And to everybody who's joined us either here or online, welcome back. And to those of you who are new Yellow Jackets, student, faculty, and staff, welcome to Georgia Tech. Before I get started, I do want to make a few acknowledgments. There are new faces that have joined our team in the last few months. So if you don't mind standing up and wave when I mention your name. Ellen Bassett, Dean of the College of Design. Nice style. Sky Duckett, our Vice President and Chief HR Officer. Now, on my list, I have Jim Forner, who is not precisely new, but he is new as interim Chief Financial Officer, and I'm grateful to him. Jen Howe, welcome back. Jen is Vice President for Development. Larry Jacobs, who's this year took on as Senior Vice Provost for Education and Learning. And Mike Shannon, who also agreed to step up as our Chief Business Officer. On September 19th, we will welcome a new Vice President, General Counsel, in charge of Ethics, Compliance, and Legal Affairs, Danette Jocelyn Gall. We will looking forward to working with her. And I think with us also, we have other leaders of the Georgia Tech community. We have Al Trujillo, I believe, who's the president of the Georgia Tech Foundation. Oh, wow, noted. Let me make a note. Dean Sheehan, president of the Georgia Tech Alumni Association. And our new student leaders, Rohan Sohani, president of Undergraduate Student Government Association. And Will Reichert, president of the Graduate Student Government Association, who was very recently elected. Congratulations. And thank you for your leadership. So thank you all for everything that you do for Georgia Tech. I hope everybody had a chance to rest and recharge this summer. Beth and I love being able to travel again, to reconnect with family and friends on both sides of the pond, and to spend time with very impressive Yellow Jackets along the way. At each stop, I was reminded of the impact that Georgia Tech has around the world, and I thought I would share some of those moments with you. We started off the summer on the beautiful Georgia shore in Sea Island, and we spent time with the Georgia Tech Foundation Board of Trustees. We updated them on all things happening at Georgia Tech. We planned for the new year, and very importantly, we announced the kickoff of our new campaign, Transforming Tomorrow. As I will explain later, this new comprehensive campaign will raise funds to amplify our impact, expand access, and deliver on all of our ambitious strategic goals. Now, while at Sea Island, Provost McLaughlin, Dean Sheehan, former President Peterson, and I joined a very interesting and generous Georgia Tech alum, Michael Tenenbaum, on a quick visit to the Kennedy Space Center. We landed on Cape Canaveral's shuttle landing facility. Talk about an incredible experience. And we were welcomed by an impressive group of proud alumni who work for NASA in different capacities. This group took us to see the new space launch system, Artemis 1, which should have taken off earlier this week, and I think has been already rescheduled for later this month, and which is going to go back to the moon half a century after the end of the Apollo missions. And very exciting, by the way, that our School of Aerospace Engineering was down there this week as well, exploring everything that is happening there. But reason why I share this is that during the visit, we spent a lot of time reflecting on the role that Georgia Tech alumni and faculty have played from the beginning of our journey to space. From the great John Young, who was only the 9th person to walk on the moon as commander of the Apollo 16 mission in 1972. I think he's the only person who's also flown on 3 different types of spacecraft. To Shane Kimbrough, who was the first person to throw a first pitch from, for a Georgia Tech game from space. Our faculty colleague Sandy Magnus, who was just this year inducted to the Astronaut Hall of Fame, and Robin Gatens, a member of the board of the Georgia Tech Alumni Association, and the person who, by the way, arranged this visit. There is a long list of Georgia Tech alumni who have advanced the science behind space travel, who have designed, built, and piloted spacecraft, who have led missions and organizations, and continue to play critical leadership roles. A reminder of the impact that this community has had and continues to have over the years. Now, from Georgia, we traveled to my hometown of Madrid. Woohoo! At last, I strongly recommend it. Along with some time with family and friends, I participated in a conference organized by the Bankinter Innovation Foundation, where I serve as a trustee. So we're in the middle of a brutal heat wave that, as you know, hit Western Europe this entire summer. So in this heat wave, the conference appropriately centered around how to build a net zero world. So among the world-leading experts gathered in this conference to help think of a roadmap to decarbonize the atmosphere was our very own Gleb Yushin, professor of material science and engineering. Gleb has spun off a company from his lab called Sila Nanotechnologies that has reached unicorn status several times over. Now, Sila is deploying new battery technology to electrify automobiles. They recently signed a deal with Mercedes-Benz, who will use the batteries in the new all-electric G-Class. So think about it. This is a great example of the work our faculty do, not only creating new technologies, but always finding ways to solve problems of real consequence. This year, the Board of Regents created a new designation of Faculty Excellence, the Regents Faculty Entrepreneur, to recognize these types of very, very important contributions. I am proud that the very first recipients in the state of this recognition are Professor Yushin himself and 4 other Georgia Tech colleagues, and I know many others will follow. So from Madrid, we traveled to Paris. We connected with alumni, and we're really impressed by the innovative startups being led by our many alumni in Europe. During an event that showcased some of those startups, Georgia Tech mechanical engineering professor Shannon Yee presented his work with Bill Gates and the Gates Foundation to reinvent the toilet. As you know, the goal of this project is to solve a massive public health problem faced by about 4 billion people who lack access to modern sanitation and who see millions of their children die of preventable infectious diseases. With a coalition of researchers from other top laboratories and research centers in US, Europe, and around the world, Shannon has created a self-contained appliance, a toilet that processes all waste without need for sewage infrastructure. Now, the reason why Shannon was in Europe was he was delivering a prototype of the reinvented toilet to be tested in our campus in Metz. But also, he's trying to find a manufacturer that will make the device available to the people who need it. These are just some of the many, many examples of how our research is helping solve real problems of great human consequence. This past year, our faculty across all colleges and GTRI have continued to deliver impressive growth in research awards and expenditures. In the latest Higher Education Research and Development Survey, otherwise known as HERD, published by the NSF at the end of 2021 using data from 2020, Georgia Tech was one of only 21 universities in the country with research expenditures above $1 billion. Interestingly, Georgia Tech was the only one among the 21 without a medical school. Medical schools, of course, draw about a third of all available research funding. So that says a lot about the caliber of the work happening at Georgia Tech. Since 2020, new research awards have kept growing, reaching a record $1.2 billion last year, and the year we just closed almost $1.3 billion. This is a leading indicator that our research expenditures will continue to grow in the foreseeable future, and with those expenditures, the impact that our research can have. More resources mean more scientific breakthroughs, more technological advances. It means deeper influence in the thinking and decisions of policymakers, of business leaders, of other scientists. It also means more innovative solutions to complex human problems. More resources also allow us to attract some of the best researchers in the world and provide them with the facilities and the equipment that they need. In the innovation business, talent and ideas breed talent and ideas. Scale really matters. In addition to the impact all this research has, it also creates a unique opportunity for our students to learn from faculty who are operating on the cutting edge of their disciplines and to grow into transformative leaders themselves. From Paris, we traveled to Metz with Shannon Yee himself, as I mentioned, Dean Bia, Vice Provost Kipling, and several other colleagues from development and throughout the Institute. We arrived to Georgia Tech Lorraine, that's the existing name, soon to be known as Georgia Tech Europe. In addition to meeting with our great partners in local and regional government, these are the people who make this program possible, who have invested in this program from the very beginning. We spent a lot of time with students, faculty, and staff. We were impressed by the dedication of our colleagues in Europe to our students, the experiences that they create for them, the labs and research happening there, including Institut Lafayette, which is a technology transfer platform that provides access to advanced semiconductor and optoelectronic technology to European partners. Very importantly, we were able to see firsthand the transformative power afforded to our students who study abroad. One memorable and moving highlight was the visit with students to the American Cemetery near Metz. We honored all fallen American soldiers who buried there and paid special respects to one of them, Rupert Burnett Jr., a Georgia Tech student who was killed in action in 1944, not far from the location of our campus today during World War II, just a few months before he was set to graduate from Georgia Tech. We held a small ceremony, and as I reflected on Rupert's young life, I was struck by how our students are now able to travel and study freely because of what Rupert and many others sacrificed 8 decades ago when they were the same age as our students. Now think about this. For many of our students, this was the very first time they even owned a passport. This is the very first time they stepped outside of the United States. And now they're seeing the world through an entirely different lens. They are having an experience that they will never forget. And they will return much more prepared to engage in an interconnected world. Study abroad changes our students. Like many other forms, many other transformative experiences that we offer at Georgia Tech. Another exciting program that has grown in the past couple of years is Createx, our flagship student entrepreneurship program. Just last week, in the Fox Theater, Createx gathered the largest and most impressive cohort of student-led startups to date. I was simply blown away. We had more than 2,700 RSVPs, including 190 investors, walking and talking to the students and looking for opportunities to invest. This was a who is who of the local entrepreneurial ecosystem. Just to give you a sense, one of those startups, Sola, which won last year's Inventure Prize, has developed an innovative proprietary model to help homeowners access financial support immediately following the devastation of a tornado or a natural disaster. This innovation will touch many people's lives just when they are most vulnerable. Sola has already raised money. One of their investors was in attendance, and they are the very first venture investment of the Georgia Tech Foundation in a Createx company, a new fund that we created this year with a gift from alum Michael Tenenbaum, the same one with whom we flew to Cape Canaveral, will provide seed funding to many student-led startups like Sola in the years to come. By the way, the three founders of Sola just completed their first year at Georgia Tech, mechanical engineering and CS. And we have the chat, because I do hope they return and finish their degree, but that's another story for another day. So thanks to the dedication and ingenuity of our faculty and staff, thousands of students every year have a chance to engage in some form of high-impact, transformative learning. They may take a VIP course, engage in a national competition, a capstone project, service learning, a co-op, faculty-led research. They may be volunteers, PIs in one of our makerspaces. All these are powerful experiences that help students apply what they're learning in the classroom, collaborate with experts in other disciplines, and build the confidence to lead and have real impact. As part of our strategic plan, Provost McLaughlin is currently leading efforts to expand these transformative learning experiences and ensure all students have access to them. Now, key to the success of our students is their engagement and well-being. Our strategic plan calls out our intention to invest in those two areas, and I'm happy to report some important progress. Perhaps the most visible addition this year is the opening of the John Lewis Student Center and Stamps Commons. I hope you all have taken the opportunity to explore the new spaces. They are built with our students in mind. This Lewis Center is a place to recharge, to grab a bite, to play, to meet, to engage, a place to grow as leaders. As a great architectural innovation, the building now has windows. In fact, some of the best views on campus. Later this month, we will dedicate this wonderful facility to the memory of John Lewis, a civil rights icon, our district's congressional representative for more than 3 decades, and a legend among student leaders. In his honor, donors have provided generous gifts towards a student leadership development fund that will help us create new and exciting programs for our students. To further support students, we are expanding staff capacity for health and wellness, outreach initiatives, and crisis response, including the creation of the Center for Mental Health and Care Resources. The new center combines care and counseling into one new department that will proactively promote mental health, advance a culture of self-care, and of shared community around crisis response and case management. With this alignment and expanded staff capacity, students will have greater and quicker access to more case managers, lower wait times, and overall increased critical care through referrals and interventions. These efforts are part of an institute-wide plan that emanated from our Institute's strategic plan to improve the well-being of students, but also faculty and staff. So in collaboration with the Vice President of Student Engagement and Wellbeing, colleagues in Human Resources are hard at work implementing strategies that improve the employee experience as well, including the creation of an employee experience team that will focus on health and well-being initiatives, employee engagement, mental health support, and close collaboration with groups like the Staff Council. Related to this, over the past year, I'm delighted that we completed a two-part comprehensive compensation program review paired with a market equity study. As a result of the review, we raised the minimum wage at Georgia Tech and have since implemented equity adjustments where needed to members of our faculty and staff. Additionally, with the help of generous state investments, eligible employees also saw cost of living adjustment increases. Compensation reviews will be ongoing as part of our strategic goals, focused on providing a rewarding employee work experience so that we can attract and retain the best and brightest faculty and staff. These are just a couple of examples, and know that more details are forthcoming as we scale these and other efforts so that Georgia Tech is an exceptional place to learn and to work. Our work over the past decade to strengthen the student experience has paid off. Our 6-year graduation rates, an industry standard metric, are now among the country's best. Just last month, the Chronicle of Higher Education ranked us number 7 among public universities, an extraordinary outcome, especially given the large number of majors we have in engineering and computing. We do very well for Pell students as well. We rank 8th in the nation, and with transfer students, we rank 19th. The one area we have room for improvement is in 4-year graduation rates, another priority for the provost and his team. Overall, though, I am very proud of the dramatic improvements in the last decade and the fact that the days of the infamous look to your right, look to your left, only one of you will graduate, the days of that are finally and thankfully long gone. Strong graduation rates are key to strong return on investment for students. So measures of ROI, of course, factor in what the student invests, mostly time and money, and what the student gets in return, mostly a good job and a good career. Because of our strong graduation rates, relatively low tuition, and great career outcomes, independent ratings of student ROI consistently place Georgia Tech near the top in the nation. In terms of cost, I am delighted that over the last 3 years, not only haven't we increased tuition, but thanks to state investments, enrollment growth, which is very helpful, and fiscal prudence of everybody in this room and beyond, we have been able to actually reduce tuition and fees. This year, undergraduate tuition and fees for in-state students is $11,764 compared to $12,682 3 years ago. This is a 7% reduction, or a 19 or 20% when adjusted for inflation. At a time of big headlines nationally about the increasing cost for students and their families to go to college, this is a great and proud example. In terms of employment opportunities, Georgia Tech is also, as I mentioned, excelling. This past month, the University System of Georgia unveiled a new tool called Georgia Degrees Pay. You can Google it, or you can just go to the USG website, and I think it's still on the front page. This is part of Chancellor Perdue's efforts to increase transparency and inform the public about the choices that they make. With this tool, any of us can go in there, look at data, and see future earnings of students by school, by major. You can navigate in any way you want. I encourage you to use it. What you will see is that Georgia Tech provides the best earnings opportunities in the state. So with these outcomes, excellent graduation rates, excellent employment opportunities, it is not surprising that demand for a Georgia Tech education is at an all-time high. So amid national decline in college students this year, we broke a new record with more than 50,000 students applying for first-year admission. This unprecedented demand has pushed our selectivity to the top of the charts. According to the Chronicle of Higher Education, we were the number 3 most selective public university, behind only UCLA and Berkeley. We are indeed competing with the best universities in the nation for the best students and are bringing them here to Georgia to study with the best and brightest students in our state. But selectivity is not our goal. Our strategic plan very specifically and intentionally defines our impact by the number of talented students we serve and help succeed, not by how many we reject. That's why we are continuing to grow and make room for more students. This is not easy, and I know growth is testing some of our systems and creating some stress across the Institute. But I am very, very grateful of the work that everyone is doing to serve more students and amplify our impact. Growing is not easy either. Some of the ranking organizations may not like it because they prefer smaller classrooms and smaller they actually favor higher investments and expenditures per student. We're delivering the goods, serving more students, making them more successful with fewer resources. That's what we committed to do, that's what we're doing, whether some ranking organization likes it or not. This year, we just welcomed nearly 3,700 new first-year students. Add another 1,400 students transferring in from other universities. This is our largest incoming class ever. Add on top of that the ongoing expansion of our online graduate programs, which have been truly transformative in higher education, nationally and globally. And our overall enrollment now sits at more than 46,000 students. This is the largest number of students we have ever served and is only second to Georgia State University in our state. Over the past decade, Georgia Tech has indeed emerged as the fastest growing university in our state and one of the fastest growing public universities in the country. According to the Chronicle, only University of California, Merced, which was just established in 2005, grew faster than Georgia Tech. So put all these numbers together. Number 1, research expenditures without a medical school. Number 3, most selective. And yet, number 2, fastest growing. And you get a picture of a one-of-a-kind institution in American higher education. One that brings together world-class faculty and students on a greater and greater scale and has a greater and greater impact. There are areas where we still need to do better, though. We're making progress in our commitment to expanding access. And our new class includes record numbers of undergraduates from our state, first generation and transfer students, women, black students, and Hispanic students. But much work remains to be done to recruit women, minority, and Pell-eligible students, and I'm confident that we will keep making progress. We celebrated the 60th anniversary of black students at Georgia Tech last year, and this year we'll celebrate the 70th anniversary of women at Tech. It's a very good occasion to reflect together on the fact that if we are indeed going to produce technologies and leaders that help us all live better lives, we need all voices and perspective represented in our classrooms, in our labs, and in careers in technology companies. Given our growth trajectory, we have a unique opportunity to make significant advances in the expanding access. So back to our summer travels. Just as we arrived back from Europe with barely a day to catch our breath, we hit the road again for the Georgia summer tour, resuming an institute tradition that the pandemic put on hold for 2 years. So the trip was a whirlwind put together by the staff in Institute Relations and our colleagues at the Georgia Tech Alumni Association. By the time we wrapped up, we had hosted and attended more than 20 events in 8 towns across 550 miles. At each stop, we met current and incoming students and their families, friends, and alumni. We visited with local lawmakers and business leaders to learn what we can do to support their local economy and drive innovation. According to the annual report produced by the University of Georgia for the Board of Regents, just last year, Georgia Tech had an immediate statewide impact of nearly $4.2 billion, the highest of any institution in the state, and about 22% of all public universities. And that figure does not include our most significant, even if less quantifiable contributions, the talent that we provide to help employers grow, the support we provide to our state industries, the startups we incubate, the philanthropic dollars we raise and invest, or the companies that we help attract to our very neighborhood. Nowhere is our impact most visible than right here around us. We are all very familiar with the work we've done with our affiliate organizations, most notably the Georgia Tech Foundation and the Georgia Advanced Technologies Ventures, and other public and private organizations to transform our neighborhood into a thriving innovation hub that appeals both to big companies and startups, as well as to a growing number of young professionals who choose to live here. Tech Square, West Midtown, and the surrounding areas have become a destination for corporations like Microsoft, Google, Cisco, Micron, Airbnb, Norfolk Southern, Nike, and others who want to be close to the talent and research emerging from Georgia Tech, following others that were already here, like Accenture and NCR and many others. The announcements, one after another, show how this has become one of the hottest tech neighborhoods in America. And the list will keep growing in the months to come. Our work in this space is far from done. Thanks to state investments and generous contributions from the George, Scheller, and Stewart families, as well as other leading philanthropists, we are planning a 2-tower complex in the heart of the neighborhood that will house the Scheller College of Business, the Milton Stewart School of Industrial and Systems Engineering, GTRI, and several programs in support of the district's startup ecosystem. And on the south side, across the street from the North Avenue Research Area, NARA. We do have a talent for acronyms, by the way. And just west of the Coca-Cola campus, construction is underway for our new biomedical innovation district, Science Square. Science Square will become a global biomedical research and technology hub focused on devices and therapeutics with the power to improve and save lives. And just like Tech Square, we want Science Square to be an example of how a research university can support innovation and can help transform its city. But our economic impact, as I said, spans our entire state. It's not restricted to our neighborhood and our city. We recruit and educate talented students from every corner of the state. We do research in sectors that are central to the state economy: agricultural technology, aerospace, semiconductors, software engineering. We build capabilities and support innovation in business across the state through our portfolio of programs under EI Squared. Coaching and supporting entrepreneurs through ATDC. We empower educators and inspire high school students through a number of programs in Seismic. We extend innovative policies and solutions through suburban and rural areas of our state through the Partnership for Inclusive Innovation. We are committed to making a difference in the quality of life of our state, and we are getting the job done. Finally, as I mentioned at the beginning, I want to bring your attention to the new campaign that we officially launched this summer, Transforming Tomorrow, the campaign for Georgia Tech. This comprehensive campaign will raise more than $2 billion through various funding priorities that are centered around lives, ideas, learning, our community, and our world. Very importantly, more than 1/4 of all the funds that we're planning to raise are earmarked towards student financial aid. That's our top priority. This will be our biggest fundraising effort to date to support student access. We are currently building a strong campaign steering committee and will be hitting the road this fall to share the campaign goals with alumni and friends around the nation and beyond. As I turn over 4 questions, I want to take a moment to acknowledge and thank our faculty and staff. Each one of the accomplishments I cited today belongs to you. In the classroom, the lab, in the offices and workrooms, and across our facilities and grounds, each of you is responsible for a big part of what this institution does. I thank you for the way you live our values every day, and that you keep them as a foundation to our work. They define us as we keep students as our top priority and take progress and service out into the world. We will continue to strive for excellence, thrive on diversity, and celebrate collaboration. We will continue to nurture the well-being of this community and act as ethical and responsible stewards of the great responsibility we are given. And we will safeguard freedom of inquiry and expression in academic instruction, research, publication, and as individual members of this community. As we say in our strategic plan, these values are our lodestar, and we will hold tightly to our commitment. Lastly, and I thank you for a great start to the fall semester, I look forward to seeing many of you around campus. For others, in Metz, in Shenzhen, Oxford, Savannah, or elsewhere around the world, I send you my best wishes for a great semester. We hope to see you in Atlanta very soon. Now, before our team takes the field at Mercedes-Benz against Clemson on Monday, we haven't played the game yet. Okay? We are just saying. We are very excited that Buzz is up in New York City right now and will ring the closing bell at the New York Stock Exchange this afternoon. Yeah. I don't know how Buzz does it, but this is in honor of the Chick-fil-A Kickoff Classic, and Buzz will join Chick-fil-A Chairman Dan Cathy, Chancellor Perdue, Board of Regents Chairman Reynolds, and a few others, including some Hairy Dog fans, as the season officially gets underway. Also, before I go, I would be remiss if I didn't call out that tomorrow, September 2nd, is College Colors Day. I will most certainly be wearing my old gold and white tomorrow and showing off my yellow jacket pride, and I've been asked to role model how this is done. So thank you again for joining me today. Go Jackets, and I am happy to take any questions you may have.
Thank you, President Cabrera. So we're open to questions in the room, and while we're looking for hands, we can kick off with one from online. My blue light of my computer was messing things up over here, so bear with me on that. So the first question from Instagram, and Georgia Tech Aerospace Engineering alumnus, Jonathan Delosier. How do you plan to expand campus resources to match the growing student population?
So it is a top priority. I mean, obviously, the building of the new student center, not just the John Lewis Center, but the entire complex, exhibition hall and pavilion, that's a big part of that. With the building of Tech Square Phase 3, the new George and Scheller Towers, there's going to be new classroom space. Also, it allows us to now free up space on main campus as Industrial and Systems Engineering moves across the connector. That provides more room to grow programs like mechanical engineering, additional student services and the like. So we are also right now planning the building and much needed, I know, renovation of many student dorms. So we're going to be adding more residential capacity to our campus. Very importantly, provost and the deans are working very hard at bringing in new resources to deal with this growth. I'm making eye contact with Dean Isbell because I'll tell you, the demand for computer science has been just absolutely overwhelming. In other areas as well, but that's one of the cases. So I know that's a top priority for all of us.
Thank you. Anyone in the room before I move on to other questions submitted? Quiet bunch today. Okay, so I'm going to go with a pre-submitted question. You did speak about the resources, including the resources for mental health and well-being for many in our community, including students, faculty, and staff. But what cultural changes do you want to see for us as a community in that space?
Well, I really appreciate that question because what our Vice President of Student Engagement and Wellbeing always reminds us is that to really the health, physical and mental health of a community belongs to the entire community. I mean, of course, there are many resources that we need to strengthen, and I mentioned some of them in my remarks in terms of the resources to deal with cases of mental health. But ultimately, it is a community taking care of one another. Everybody can play a role. Anything from noticing that a fellow student may be having a hard day and knowing what to do in a situation like that, what words to use, what referrals to make, to all the initiatives that the students themselves, student leaders, put in place to bring people out of their dorm rooms and even out of the library times and get them to engage and to participate in campus life. It belongs to all of us. So I've shared and I've expressed my personal commitment to investing resources in this space, but I ask each one of you to be part of this project.
Thank you. Another pre-submitted question, and then I'll go back to one from Instagram. I'm still scanning our room. So the pre-submitted question, and you've touched on a little of this in your presentation, but what are you most excited about for the upcoming year and beyond? What projects kind of get you up and running every day?
I mean, honestly, spending time with our students is absolutely remarkable, and spending time with our faculty in the labs. I mean, those are the day-to-day highlights of my day. Are not so much the big projects, which, by the way, we will continue to cut ribbons and celebrate some of the big projects. We just did Science Square, and it was a terrific celebration of all things Georgia Tech. We're looking forward to another of those ceremonies and for the beginning of Tech Square 3, and we'll continue that. But the biggest, to me, the most exciting experiences in the day-to-day, and I know for all my colleagues they would have a similar answer, is in the day-to-day conversations and experiences with students. I know the faculty are very patient with me. Occasionally they get an email from me saying, "Can I come to your lab?" And they're a little surprised, but those are the highlights when I actually get to see the array of resources and discoveries and solutions that are being produced every day. Those to me are the most exciting things I look forward to, not just this year, but every single day.
Okay, and before we wrap up, one last question from Instagram, from a recent chemical engineering graduate, Teddy Stopford. What's your favorite Georgia Tech tradition?
So it's always been the Mini 500. I mean, it is crazy. If you have not experienced that in person, or if you're new or new-ish to Georgia Tech, or if you came in during the weird COVID years, do not miss the Mini 500. I will not say anything else. Just you have to experience it for yourself. It's amazing. But there are new traditions that I am very excited about. One that I do not suggest we make a tradition is that joy ride in Athens. I think that's sort of a one and done, unless Dean wants to repeat it, be my guest. No. But when we had this visit to the cemetery in Metz, we reached an agreement. We had this conversation with the mayor of Metz that this would be a very neat new tradition, is for the students of Georgia Tech in Metz every summer, and maybe picking D-Day as the opportunity to go to the American Cemetery and to pay our respects to Rupert Barnett. I think that would be just a fantastic new addition to be added to our collection.
Thank you very much. And I think with that, we'll wrap it up for today. As I said, this was recorded and will be posted. And you will have a feedback loop there. If you have other questions, we can get answered for you. In addition, look out for the President's Report and the Research Annual Report. That will be coming out later this week, and will give you even more to celebrate than what you heard here today. And we thank you for your time. Thanks very much.
Thank you all for everything you do.